The Knowledge Trust today, but I am the only one in the studio today. Carl and Kevin has the weekend off, but I do have on the line Shari McCants. Shari, are you there?
I am here, Chuck. Good morning.
Good morning. And I understand today you're going to have a special guest on the air with us.
Yes. I am having Kim. She is a registered nurse of 2 years. She has a beautiful family with 2 girls, one 7 months old and one 8 years old. So we may hear a little bit from that 7-month-old. And she right now is actually going to school for her bachelor's. She works a full-time job as a charge nurse, and she's been living this program, Chuck, for 4 years. And so I thought it would be great for us to once in a while have a guest on the show that's been living the program. I talk so much about that this is not a diet and that we are different from we're different from anything out there. We are actually the way that our body is meant to be fed, and it is based on science. It's based on physiology, and I felt it would be great to hear from some people that are living the plan. So I asked Kim, she lives in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, to come on today. So are you there, Kim?
I am. Hi, Shari.
Hello, Kim. And while you are telling your story, I know Chuck may have some questions, and the listeners may have some questions out there. So I just encourage people to pick up the phone, just like Chuck said. You can give the number again, Chuck. But it's my passion to help people understand blood sugar. And when I am teaching this program, it's amazing. The medical field actually goes, wow, this really makes sense. And then when someone else wants to learn the program and they go to their doctor and talk to them about it, the doctor says, yes, this makes sense. This is how our body's meant to be fed. You should do this for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kim, if somebody wants to call and ask a question, welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you.
503-417-9595 or toll free 877-733-1011. And Kim, tell us your story.
So basically, I was part of a trial group in 2014, just learning about PFC and everything. I had been through every yo-yo diet, everything you could imagine. But when I started in 2014 and learned, the ratio of protein, fats, carbs, and how to make that work in your life, I finally had success. I was able to lose 30 to 35 pounds in just 6 to 8 weeks, but it was the healthy way. And from there, I kind of I kept learning more and more about it and learned how to make it work in my life and basically just making it as easy as I could. And from there, I started taking it to teach my patients. I was a home health nurse, and by doing that, I was helping my diabetic patients and my hypertensive patients to really see drastic changes in their numbers. I had some patients who were in the high 500s for their blood glucose levels coming down to just the 120s, 130s in a matter of a week. And as far as blood pressure, as far as blood pressures, people who would run very hypertensive, 170 over 90 as an average, coming down to 130 over 70. So I really just instantly saw the benefit of eating this way and just kind of taking it from there. So when you get thanked by a veteran's doctor saying, how did you get this patient down to these levels, you really kind of pay attention that this is how we're supposed to do this.
Kim, I think one of the things that's kind of important for our listeners to know is that the plan is simple. It is very simple, but you do have to be disciplined, and you got to stick with what you should be eating and not eating, and when you should be eating and not eating.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Chuck, I'm just going to interrupt here. And, people cannot change their habits without changing their way of thinking. So what you got to think about it is you've got to change your mindset. And just kind of how, like you always say, what good is your wealth if you don't have your health? And like Kim is showing, her patients and people that she's around, is that blood sugar stabilization is really a big key to living a longer life. When you have type 2 diabetes and these other diseases, that all stems from inflammation. And that's because we're not stabilizing our blood sugar. We are eating, and then our blood sugar goes high, and then we store fat. Or we're skipping meals, and we're not eating before exercise, and our blood sugar is so low that we're actually burning muscle. So just like Kim is saying, we are teaching people how to stabilize their blood sugars so that their blood sugar's in the range of 80 and 120, and that's where you feel your best. Kim, what kind of things are you doing? You mentioned to me that you really got a grasp of how to make this into your life. You are busy. If you just heard me, she has a 7-month-old. She has an 8-year-old. She has a full-time job. And, she is making this work. So what can you tell the listeners that you do, that they can do, so that it can be simple? Just like Chuck said, it's simple, but we know it's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know who originally said it, but fail to plan, plan to fail. So the biggest thing in my life is basically I meal prep 1 to 2 hours, 1 to 2 days a week. And I really try to focus on picking out fresh produce. I like to go to the Saturday markets or Chuck's or, any stores like that where you just get really good produce. And I just make it really simple. I grab whatever's on sale, and that's what I'm doing for the week. So I just cut up fruit, salad. I cook lean proteins down so that there's something always available. Because that's the biggest thing, especially when you're working full-time and you have children, and I'm going to school full-time as well. You really have to plan. And if you don't, you're not going to make it. So I like to make it easy by having just really simplified, bars. I don't need to put any names out there, but really simple bars that don't have a lot of ingredients. Shake mixes help so that if you're missing meals, especially as a nurse, we don't get a lot of time for breaks. That really helps to kind of eat every 3 hours by replacing with one of those. And then just really simple, clean foods is what I go to. I don't make it difficult. I don't make fancy recipes, especially when I'm working during the week. I just make it really simple.
That to me is one of the great things about this program, because you can keep it simple, and we try to cook our meals up on the weekend and have them for the whole week. So we just have stuff ready to, and as Shari called it, grab and go. We have our stuff all ready to go, and if you're hungry in between, you can maybe have a banana nut muffin. But normally you try to wait till that 3 hours to try to eat. And I find myself in the morning I have a shake every morning, and I'm really not hungry until pretty much 3.5 hours later.
Yeah.
Yep. The shakes will help with holding you over for those 3 hours, and it's basically a gap filler. And like what Kim was saying, and Chuck, you were saying, the grab-and-go meals, it's called MRFK, which is Mobile Ready Food Kit. So you really should not leave your house without something in your car, in a cooler, because you never know when you're going to get stuck in traffic. I know for sure Pacific Northwest, you're stuck in traffic, right, Chuck?
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
yep.
Yeah. Or just, every time especially in the summer, you plan to go to the park, and it's a beautiful day, so, you've eaten, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the park. But what happens? You're at the park for 3 hours, and then what happens is you're starving, and then you reach for the ice cream, or you reach for a candy bar, you reach for something, because now your blood sugar has dropped. But if you were prepared, like Kim is, and bringing something, either a balanced shake or a balanced bar or a simple, a couple hard-boiled eggs and a piece of fruit. That's a great way to stabilize your blood sugar. Then you're not going to be going to that next meal starving. So I think that will help a lot.
Well, I think one thing that also helps a lot, Kim, and I'm assuming you do this as well, but Shari has a wealth of recipes in her program that virtually there's something in there that everybody...
Absolutely. Since 2014, I've put together a binder, and anytime I find recipes that are off-plan, that aren't, that balance of the protein, fat, and carbs, I'll still print it out and try to figure out how I can change this so it works for me. So I just developed a binder and put it all together, and that keeps me going. I write out meal plans for the week and just keep copies of them so that if ever I get a week where I can't really sit down and think about it, I can just pull one out and go from there, and it saves so much time in the long run.
Now, you've been on this program since 4 years now, since 14.
Yes, I've been on the program, been teaching it. Yep.
And do you do like a diet class, or what kind of a class do you do?
I don't do any classes per se, but when I'm educating my patients, when you're in a hospital or you're at a clinic, when you go to leave, you're supposed to get information on, hey, what do I do from here? Especially with a new diagnosis of diabetes or hypertension. And so that's where I kind of jump in and educate on the proper way to eat and how they can, potentially decrease the amount of medications they're going to be on and how they can battle this kind of new diagnosis that they got. So that's where I really like to thrive and where I feel like I'm doing the most good, especially as a nurse. Our biggest thing is we always want to help our patients. We want them to feel better. We want them to get better. And so that's what I like to do.
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I was taking blood pressure pills, and I'm not anymore. I had high blood sugar. I don't anymore. And I could tell you, I have physicals every single year, and my blood pressure's back to normal. In fact, my doctor's very happy where I'm at on my blood sugar and my blood pressure because I no longer have to take medication.
Yeah, right. And it's amazing. With this program, I've seen that more than honestly anything else. So I really think that this is the way to get to those results rather than following, the SAD diet, the standard American diet. It isn't how we're supposed to eat. So, yeah, that's amazing. Good job on your results.
Yeah, the amazing thing to me is that it is relatively easy to follow, and you get almost instant results because you start feeling the difference.
Absolutely.
And if you're like me, where you were taking blood pressure or you had high blood sugar, you really know the difference.
Yeah.
And when they talk about blood pressure as the silent killer, I think also one of the real problems is people who have high blood sugar, and the number of people in this country that have diabetes is just amazing.
Yes, and that's the reason why I chose to do this with my son being type 1. I wanted to understand diabetes, type 1, type 2, but as I've said before on this show, it's not just for type 1, it's not just for type 2, it's actually the way everyone's meant to be fed. And, when your boss says, you do not have time to eat and it's going on 6 hours, you really just need to educate them. That's what we just have to do. We just have to start telling people that we need to feed our bodies because it is like you said, it's a silent killer. And I think what I need to ask people is do you know how to achieve and maintain your health? You have to know how. And earlier you were talking about knowledge is power. So pick up the phone, give us a call, or you can also go to my website. It's team-bliss.com, and you can read about what PFC is. I have videos on there to explain it. And I always have to give a shout-out to my mentor, Mark McDonald, that has helped me with teaching this program, and it's all over. I mean, this program is being taught in Japan, Russia, Poland, Brazil, Malaysia, Turkey, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand. You know, it's going worldwide. People are starting to understand how to take their body to the next level by eating PFC, eating a protein, a fat, and a carb every 3 hours to stabilize your blood sugar.
Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break and come right back with investing in your health. And I can tell you, you can have all the money in the world and have all the wealth in the world, but if you don't have your health, you'll be spending it on medical care. And so you need to have balance in your life, and that's what we're going to be talking about, is investing in your health and matching that with your wealth, and to have a long life and healthy life. So